Oftentimes, I talk to home service business owners and they think what the solution to their problems is just more leads. But it's not only just more leads. If you want to scale your home service business, there's actually 4 key metrics to measure. And today I'm going to break down the exact metrics to measure, what to do to improve all of them in the system that the big home service players are using. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to have some slides to follow along and explain exactly the 4 key metrics that matter, what we measure most in our agency as we provide these services for home service businesses. And I'll explain to you exactly why they matter and how we can help. So most home service business owners think it's just more leads. I just need more leads to grow my business, but that's not just it. More leads does not solve all your problems. What actually you need to do is go through your funnel and your system and measure your leads, your appointment set rate, your close rate, and your average ticket. This whole funnel will determine your actual revenue. So what is a lead? A lead is someone who expresses interest or intent in your business and you have a means of communication with them. So a lead could be somebody who DMs you on Instagram. That could be a lead. A lead could be somebody who fills out a form on your website. A lead could be somebody who submits a request for some service on Thumbtack. A lead could be somebody who fills out your form through, your Facebook lead form. A lead could be somebody who downloads some free information from you. Are they interested in your product or service? And do we have a means of communication with them? That's our definition of a lead. Second thing is your set rate. So how many of these leads actually then turn into appointments? In the home service space, this is a shot on goal. This is how many of these people actually turn into an in-home visit for a sales opportunity. Because you can get all the leads in the world, but if none of them actually result into appointments, the leads are a bit of vanity. Now, they all work together, and typically the more leads you get, the more opportunities you have for even set rate. But then after somebody has that in-home visit, somebody has that opportunity, what's the actual close rate? And then from the close rate, what's the average ticket the job is getting closed at? Are we closing with a healthy margin? These are the 4 most important things. Is how much does it cost us to get a lead? How much does it cost us to get an appointment? And then once these appointments are set, how many of them are actually closing and at what rate? So an important differentiator to understand is the difference between set rate and close rate. And everything kind of works together, but these are problems that you can solve in slight isolation and increments. If you have a very low set rate problem, one, you may have bad ads. That may be one factor of it, but very often a low set rate problem is who's picking up the phone. What's their quality? What's their attitude? What's their engagement like? Are they friendly? Are they positive? Are they actually somebody that you want to engage with on the phone? Oftentimes it's also a follow-up problem. If you think about it, people are ridiculously busy. People have a lot going on, and sometimes your first initial touch point, they might not book in that moment. So it's essential that you're actually following up with leads and checking in with them on a regular basis so you can increase that set rate. Another item is how fast are you reaching out? Man, it breaks my heart when I talk to people who are spending 30, 40, 50,000 a month on ads, which is great because they're getting a ton of leads in their pipeline and they're taking an hour to respond to these leads, or they have no system for weekend coverage for these leads, where that's the time when most homeowners are actually the most free and available to jump on calls and to set appointments. It breaks my heart when the speed to lead isn't there, but also the scripts. Scripts are a massive factor and a massive thing to play into in terms of how you're getting these leads, how you're booking them, how you're talking to them. What are you saying? When are you saying it? Are you getting too aggressive right away where it's scaring them off? Are you kind of building some rapport, building some relationship with them, either via text message or via phone call? And those are the big factors that can affect the low set rate, but then the low close rate. And again, this all goes in cohesion where it's like, it really depends on the initial ads that you're running and the initial way that you're getting these leads in the first place. But your close rate is oftentimes a sales problem. If you're getting appointments, but you just can't close them, then you have a sales problem. So you're getting all the appointments in the world. We have a really good, cost per booked appointment, but they're not closing. It's kind of, again, vanity. So this is a massive variable to increase in your business. If you think about it, if you run a home service business, you are essentially selling a commodity. Like, there are hundreds of contractors to choose from. There are hundreds of companies to choose from. It's not like you're doing anything miraculous or innovative when you're changing out an electrical panel, installing some flooring, replacing some windows. So essentially, keep in mind, you are running a sales and marketing organization, and you happen to sell sell a new roof, you happen to sell a window replacement, you happen to sell all these other little things. The biggest factors that can affect close rate, one, it depends on what you're selling, how you're selling, but it's all about the process. It's all about the demonstration. It's all about how you're making the person feel. If you think about it, I talk to a lot of people, they're like, well, they want multiple quotes. How many times do you want multiple people walking into your house? How many times do you want to spend hours with multiple different people? No, you want your problem solved. And if you can demonstrate enough trust, reduce enough friction, people are willing to pay you as soon as possible without getting multiple quotes. It's genuinely possible. So this is set rate and close rate. This is probably my favorite thing to cover, is the math of all of this. Because once you understand the math of the system, you realize how you can scale. It's really hard to run the same math on Google, LSA, pay-per-click, all these other things, because there's a fixed amount of latent demand in those specific channels. However, if you can run this exact funnel on Meta, it's almost unlimited in terms of how high you can scale to. So let's just say we're running a roofing business. We sell an average ticket of $15,000 for a roof replacement. Our close rate's solid, we're at 40%. Our set rate's solid, we're at 30%. And then our cost per lead is also solid, we're at a $50 cost per lead, and we're spending $5K a month. We're doing $180,000 a year. Now let's just drop this down and let's just kind of take it to initial starter numbers. Most people we work with are spending at minimum $50 a day. If this is unaffordable for you, keep working on some other stuff. Let's say you start running your ads and your funnel and your sales system, and typically this is common problems. We have low set rates, we have low close rates, we have low average tickets too, because with these factors, then if you have no lead flow, typically you're scared to raise price. The reason why you're scared to raise price is because you don't know if you're going to have another appointment, right? You can fearlessly raise price when you know you have a system for generating new leads and new appointments, and you can close at good and healthy margins. Let's say this is a roofer starter pack. This is how we're going. We spend $1,500 in a month. We have a $50 cost per lead, and only 10% of these actually become appointments. So that means we would get about 30 leads in a month, and we'd get 3 appointments. And if we're only closing at 20%, that means of those 3 appointments, none of them really close. But for a pure math basis, that means we spend $1,500 and we make $6,000. Now, let's say close rate is just a little bit higher and we're at 30%. That means we went about 1 for 3 on our appointments, which when you scale and you start running heavy ad spend, 30 to 40% is a pretty solid place to be in terms of your close rate, especially if you have a growing sales team and sales reps. But let's just go through one item at a time. If we are running bad ads, our cost per lead may be through the roof. I talk to some people, they're like, yeah, we're getting a $250 cost per lead. And if you run ads on things like Thumbtack, Yelp, even LSA or some of the other channels, your cost per lead can get really high. But the more important factor is not cost per lead, it's cost per booked appointment. These cost per lead and set rate go hand in hand, because you can also run ads at a super low cost per lead, something like a lead magnet, something that's just like an attractant. And if your set rate is really low, let's say your set rate just is unchanged at this point. So cost per lead, if we were able to drop that from $50 cost per lead and our set rate's still only 10%, we went from getting 3 appointments in a month to, if we were able to drop down our cost per lead just purely due to better creative or better ads that we're running, and their set rate stays the same, we're able to get that up to 15 appointments per month. Now, a $50 cost per lead for a roofer in a competitive metro is pretty good. So the most important metrics that we'd want to move up here is set rate. If we can get up to 25 or 30% on set rate, now we have a pretty good system. Then at this point, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to up our average ticket, and then we're going to want to up our ad spend. At that point, we understand if we can consistently get a healthy cost per booked appointment, we want to scale spend. We want to increase. We want to start spending some serious money. And then it's essentially unlimited in terms of how much we can make. So this is essentially how you can envision, hey, if I spend this much and I know this is how much it takes for me to get this many appointments, and if I close this many appointments at this average ticket, then this is what my potential return could be. Now, it's important to track all these things, because then you know which levers you can push up or push down. It's really hard for you to grow your bank account if you never open your bank app. It's really hard for you to lose weight if you never step on the scale. It's really hard to improve the metrics of your business if you don't track the metrics of your business. So these are essential, but this is a way to think about it. So let's say we're getting 100 leads in a month and our set rate's 30%, close rate's 40%, and then our average ticket's 15. This is pretty solid. If we're able just to increase our set rate and do nothing else, we can essentially double revenue. Set rate is a massive factor in your ad funnels. It's a massive factor in terms of how many of these people actually turn into shots on goal. Now, let's say we also increase the close rate just by 10%. from there, we've added an additional 40,000 in revenue. In this case, you can see if I can just increase that set rate, then we'll go to 300,000. Then if you could do both, then you're in a really good spot. If you increase set rate, increase close rate. But the cost per booked appointment on your marketing front is probably your most important metric. It's not your cost per lead. It's how much do I have to spend to actually get a legitimate shot on goal, a legitimate sales opportunity. Sometimes like cost per lead is a good thing because as I demonstrated, if you could drop the cost per lead and keep set rate as is, then you're in a really good spot. And sometimes even on a low set rate, if cost per lead is ridiculously low, doesn't really matter as long as your cost per appointment is still healthy, right? But you can essentially drive down your cost per appointment just by increasing your set rate. So if you have an $8 CPL and 10% set rate, that means it's costing you $80 to book an appointment. It feels good, but if you could just slightly set more appointments, then we're at a $26 cost per appointment. That's just about 3 times as good. This is some metrics that we're actually seeing. So in flooring, we're seeing about $170 cost per appointment, concrete coating, garage, epoxy coating, 87 to 130. Decks and fences, we're getting close to these costs per appointment. Painting is a bit higher, 150, 250, sometimes 300, even 400, depending on how much you're spending and the metro and market that you're in. Roofing, we're seeing $200 to $400 as a cost per appointment. Siding and windows, these are a little bit more challenging just because the ticket price is so high, about $400 to $700 as a cost per appointment. HVAC can vary between $250 to $600, depending on how competitive the market is. So as you're growing your business, if you're at a stage that is under 50K a month, the biggest limiter is probably your time. But after you kind of break past that, it's really important just to get some setter help, some appointment setting help, just to make sure, hey, I know that we're getting more shots on goals for the business. And if we can increase the set rate, then I know I'm getting more shots on goal. I know I'm getting more cash flow in the door. And then from there, hey, we're building better systems. Let's increase our lead flow. Let's increase the amount of leads that are coming into the door. That's the 3 stages that you kind of want to work through. So quick pause. If you want me and my team to go through your numbers and see where you're at right now, or you have no idea where you're at right now, or you've never even measured these things, don't worry. This is what we do. We help. We track your cost per lead. We track your set rate. We actually do it for you. We film your content. We run your ads, and we book your appointments for you. In that, we're able to see the pure cost per appointment that we can get your business. And so we could diagnose this for you, run it with you, and scale together. So link down below. So this is a couple things to think about where it's like, hey, is our cost per booked appointment good? That's great. Then let's just go ahead and go forward. If it's not, then let's see, how's our cost per lead? Is our cost per lead good? Yeah, cost per lead's good, but our appointment cost is high. So we need to fix something in our set process. If our cost per lead is really high, then something's broken on the very front end, our creative process, the ads that we're running. We need to run better creative, better visuals, better hooks. Might need just more pure creative volume if our cost per lead is too high. So something to keep in mind that once those things are kind of figured out, to understand your close rate. Your close rate when you run ads on something like Meta is typically we're running towards a cold traffic audience. These people have never heard of you in their life. And so close rate is naturally going to be a little bit lower than, of course, when you do referrals or if you run things like Google LSA or something like that. Those channels like Google, Yelp, pay-per-click, LSA, Angie's Home Advisor, they're good because they're very high intent leads. People are very serious. However, they're also very competitive because everybody's already bidding on those same jobs. On Meta, you can take people who've never heard of you in their life and you can often be the first appointment that they've had for this particular service or for this particular offer. And so then if you have a good sales process, good closing process, it's essentially unlimited in terms of your opportunity. You can generate new demand by running good ads. So there's somebody I talked to and, they're running a business where they're spending a lot on ads. And the one factor that they just needed to focus on and needed to improve on was to increase their set rate. And if they could just increase their set rate, it was a complete game changer. They were taking about an hour to respond to leads. And in the world of social media and online advertising, if it takes you an hour, people forget. People are busy. People have a lot going on. If they could just increase that one metric, that would have incredible downstream effects. So if your cost per lead is too high, you need good creative. You need good targeting. You want to build actual brand. You don't want to run generics. You don't want to run stock footage. You don't want to run things that just about anybody could run. You need to stand out. You need to build a brand. brand, build a presence. The better of a brand you build over the long term, the lower your cost per lead actually gets, because people become familiar with you. People hear about you. People are like, oh, I've heard of those guys. I've seen those guys. I know that team. I know that company. And you don't do that by running generics or stock footage. The ideal scenario here is we're doing video ads, that we have business owners or sales reps on camera, and that it's actually like at job sites, in the wild, in public, in recognizable areas in the city. And this will drive down your cost per lead. Now, to fix your set rate, you have to reach out quick. You have to reach out within 60 seconds. You have to follow up and follow up and follow up and follow up. And this is what we do for businesses as well, is we'll reach out 14 different times over 7 days. We'll send blue iMessage text messages, not your automated go high level green text. And then we'll reach out in different channels. We'll reach out on Facebook Messenger, on Instagram. We'll reach out on these different channels, whatever it takes, just so that we don't waste money on that lead and we actually decrease our cost per booked appointment. Highly recommend hiring somebody to do this. It's extremely valuable lever for you to pull in your business. So on the topic of close rate, this is massive thing. So if you can offer or lead with financing, a lot of people say, well, yeah, I signed up for financing, and then they never talked about it in their entire life because they've only had to work leads that were referrals and warm leads. But now when you start running into cold traffic, you start running into cold leads, it's essential, it's paramount that you actually lead with financing. And you don't lead with a $20,000 sticker price shock, but you lead with a $400 monthly payment. 57% of all Americans have less than $1,000 in savings in their bank account. So you need to present options for people. You need to present it in a way that makes sense. Another item is close on site, close on the first visit. I know some people are like, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to. People don't like wasting time. People don't like going back and forth and this and that. If you can just give a healthy and clear presentation as to why and why now and why with you, people will pay you money right away. It happens all the time. And then another thing is, before the appointment, there's so much you can do to actually nurture and warm up leads before you show up. You can email them. You can show them your reviews. You can show them your portfolio. You can show them all these different things before you show up. Why? Because they're going to ask these questions. They're going to have these questions. The objections and the ideas are going to come into the head. So might as well give them that information ahead of time. Then if your ticket price is too low, oftentimes the most common reason people price really low is because they don't have enough appointments. If you have a good amount of appointments, you have some optionality in terms of price. You don't want 100% close rate. You actually don't want it. Why? Because if your close rate is ridiculously high, there's a high likelihood your prices are way too low. So what you want to do is you want to demonstrate some options to them. You want to raise prices until you start dropping on your close rate a little bit, and to understand, hey, I don't want all the cheapest customers. I don't want all the lowest cost customers, because they end up being the biggest headaches, the biggest annoyances. They're going to leave you the worst review. But instead, if we can, hey, raise prices to a place where we have a healthy margin, we're not ripping people off, we're not scamming people, but we have a healthy margin, healthy breathing room, because we know we have other work opportunities that are coming in tomorrow. We know we have another appointment that's happening right after this one. These are the biggest moves to increase those 4 key metrics. So just to recap, if we can increase the number of leads that we're getting by dropping down our cost per lead, by running better ads, running better creative, if we can increase our set rates by having better follow-up systems and better appointment systems, if we can increase our close rate by having a better sales process and a better in-home experience, kitchen table experience, and if we can increase that average ticket, these are the biggest factors that can take your business from doing 180,000 a month to 560,000 a month. Hope this video is clear. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Would love to help. If you want me and my team to build out your full funnel in terms of your creatives, in terms of your ads, in terms of your appointment setting systems, I'd be happy to help. Overall, it's not just more leads, it's small moves on all these 4 numbers. Hope this video is useful. Catch you in the next one.